Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Hare Krishna. Where is it? Yeah. Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Srila Guru Varga ki Jai, Patik Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai, Shri Radha Minu Bihari Ju ki Jai, Giriraj Maharaja ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Gaura. So welcome, dear devotees, Dandavat Pranam. We're going to begin with Mangalacharan, page 1. Vandeham Shri Guru, page 1 in this book, Shri Gauriya Giti Gucha, Vande, V-A-N-D-E.
Swashritanancha paline jiva dukhe Nida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinakarine Rupanundam Nirvapa Siddhanta Dhammaharine Namo Gaur Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya-murtaye Vipralambhara Sambodhe Paramojayate Namaha Namo Bhaktivedanta Satchidananda-namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanurambharayate Gaura Virbhava Bhume Swan Nirveshta Sajana Priya Vaisnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathayate Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratrishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Surato Pango Mama Mandam Matirati Matsarvasvapadam Gojo Radha Madanamohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpanumado Shrivad Ratnagara Sinhasanasva Shri Shri Radha Shri Govinda Deva Prishtharihi Senyamana Smarami Shrimandra Sarasarambhi Vakshivattattavastitaha Karshannenu Swaraya Gopi Gopinath Shri Sunaha Vrindaye Tulasi Devyai Priyaye Keshamasya cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatyai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishna Bhaktarudvasvarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhava Mahadavagni-nirvamanam Shreyam Kairava Chandrika Vikaranam Vidyavadhum Jeevanam Alingam Gurivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritashvadanam Sarvatma Snaparam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Rameva Kevalam Kadonasteva Nasteva Nasteva Gatirannatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
গুরুদেব গৌর কৃপা করি গৌরবন মাঝে। Kripa Karo Vaisnava Thakur.
Page 14 starts with Kripa, K-R-P-A-K-A-R-O, Kripa Koro.
Vaishnava
Paramakaruna. Page 84, Paramakaruna Bahu Dvijana. 84, P-A-R-A-M-A.
Narayan
Shri Radha Krishna Padakamale Mana. Starts with Shri, S-R-I, and that's on page 120.
sange jaditava ranga parihas. Page 124.
It starts with B-A-N-D-H-U, Bandhu Sange.
Bandhu Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Ki Jai. Yesterday, could you please hand to me?
From yesterday.
No, right now.
Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktāya Tad Bhaktāya Namo Namah Ajnanatirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langyate Girim Yakripātamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinakarim. First of all, I offer my Dandava Pranam thousands of times unto the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishna Vishnupad, astottara Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta, Narayan Goswami Maharaja. In the same thousands of Dandava Pranam unto the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishna Vishnupad, astottara Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. To all of our Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga, and to all Vaishnavas past, present and future, including those who are participating with us today via Facebook Live, my Dandava Pranam. Can you give me a bottle of water? So yesterday, based on yesterday's discussion, we had some very important and serious questions. They're down there on the floor. Some very important and serious questions. Thank you. Sorry. Let me just have some water first. Because yesterday's discussion was how to call Sri Guru into our lives. And then with that came why we might be calling something else into our lives other than Sri Guru, because something is required on our side as well, and that is the depth of our sincerity. As we cry to Krishna, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. So sometimes, because we are not really sincere, we sometimes get something else other than the real thing, because we also have a cheating tendency. We don't want to give our full hearts, we want to maybe give a little bit, so we attract something in return, which is only a little bit. So instead of getting a teacher, we might get a cheater. So some questions came in response to this idea. So here, this one is from Shyam Prabhu. He says, Hari Bol. This is from my wife, Radhika Chandra Dasi. After yesterday's program, by Srila Gurudev's mercy, I have no doubt that the final solution to my predicament lies within my own sincere cries, and ultimately Nityananda Prabhu's causeless mercy. Still, I cannot pass up this opportunity to have more clarity on this matter. Srila Gurudev said that if your Guru is, quote unquote, interested in the elections, if he is unable to remove your doubts, if he engages in criticizing others, or, of course, if he ever recommends you engage in mundane sense gratification to remove your misery, then one should, quote unquote, reject him without delay. But how can we know that we are not making a grave offense to a soul that is near and dear to Srimati Radharani and Krishna, if this same Vaishnava chants the holy names daily, preaches humility, full surrender,
and Harinam Sankirtan, and even has revealed knowledge of his Swarup, and says they experience ecstasy each day. So he's asking for some elucidations on this serious and sensitive matter. And I know other devotees have also asked similar questions in private. They messaged me personally. And so I would like to try my best, praying for the mercy of Sri Gurudev and Vaishnavas, to share what I have heard from Gurudev, what I have heard from Vaishnavas, what I have read, and what myself I have personally experienced in these situations. And hopefully I might be able to shed some light on this issue. It is a very essential and important question, especially for anyone who is sincerely endeavoring to progress on the path of bhakti. But we have found, and I know personally, many devotees, many, who have accepted 1, 2, 3, 4 gurus who have, in essence, failed them because they have fallen down. And then finally they cried out to Krishna for mercy, very sincerely, and then they were accepted by any pure guru. So this is quite an interesting experience. It's quite devastating as well. Everywhere you see in the pages of the writings of Srila Prabhupada, in Gurudev's lectures, and Srila Govinda Maharaja's, that if the guru falls down, it creates turmoil, havoc, chaos in the life of that disciple, because that disciple has placed his heart, has placed his shraddha, has placed his everything, his faith, at the feet of that personality, with trust that that person can bring me to Krishna. And if that person themselves shows, subsequently, that they're completely absorbed in material activities, or that they're attracted to mundane activities, then it becomes a source of doubt for the disciple. Because of this, generally, we have the understanding of Gurudev that is given in Shastra, which I spoke about yesterday. Now, the other day was also the appearance day of Sri Gadadhar Pandit, and we were speaking about Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Pundarik Vidyanidhi also appeared to have attraction to material sense enjoyment. He was chewing pan, he was dressed in very luxurious clothing, he was lying on a very comfortable, soft, pure white bed with silk pillows. He was being fanned from both sides with beautiful fans. He had so many servants around him, many different polished spittoons so he could spit out his pan masala. And he had mirrors on either side of himself, and he was looking at them and like this and laughing. His hair was oiled in very expensive oil. He had beautiful chandan alakavali, what we call gopi or gopadats, on his face. He appeared to be a sense enjoyer living in the lap of luxury. When Gadadhar Pandit saw him, his immediate response was, I should be careful, right? All of the red flags went up. Shastra warns us to be careful for these kinds of persons. But because Gadadhar Pandit was not there alone, Gadadhar Pandit was there under the guidance of Mukunda, who knew better, who understood more. At least in this pastime, in this lila, it is being shown like this. So then Mukunda recited this beautiful prayer from Srimad Bhagavatam. Oho Bhakiyam Stanakala Kutam. How merciful is Krishna, that even though Putana came to him with intent to kill him by giving him poisoned breast milk, because she was dressed as a mother, Krishna gave her the eternal position as a nursemaid in Goloka Vrindavan. How merciful is and kind is Krishna. When Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard this prayer recited by Mukunda from Srimad Bhagavatam, immediately he forgot all about all of the externals and went into ecstatic trance, kicking and screaming and roaring and rolling on the ground and weeping, hair standing on end. Romanchakam pashrutaranga bhajo. All transcendental divine ecstasies manifested in his personality. At that moment, Gadadhar Pandit realized, this is no ordinary person. Perhaps I've made an offense inside of my heart to him by thinking that how can he really be a Vaishnava? Look at him living in the lap of luxury. So then he decided within his heart at that moment that I want to take shelter of this great personality. We've also seen Srila Kishori Das Babaji Maharaj. Sometimes he would stay in a public latrine, which seems a bit strange, and sometimes he would put on very expensive, luxurious clothing. So sometimes, according to his mood, he would dress differently. They're not in the generic idea of what a guru should look like or how they should be. So the point of the question here is how can we know? Really, because sometimes it appears one way, but it might be another way. And the way to know is to be under the guidance of senior Vaishnavas. But those senior Vaishnavas also must possess Vaishnava qualities. For those who are neophyte, like maybe most of us, I'm going to project, we are told how to acknowledge Guru Tattva, because by our own diagnosis, we may make some grave mistakes. It is said that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada did not send many people even to meet his own Gurudev. He sent a few who were mature enough. And guess what? They went to see him in the latrine, the public latrine, which he made his residence. Why? He preferred the stench of that place to the stench of the materialism outside. They were begging him, please come out, Babaji, we will build you a nice bhajan kutir outside, and there you can chant peacefully, but we don't want you staying inside the public latrine at the train station. Please. Anyway, they went to see him, and they gave the password. Who's there? We're disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. He opened the door, let them in, closed the door, and then he blessed them. He blessed our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. That all obstacles for him and his service to his Gurudev in his preaching, all obstacles will disappear. So he gave him so many blessings, so much potency, Shakti. But not everyone is qualified to understand personalities like Gauri Das Pandit, Mangshi Das Babaji, Kishori Das Babaji Maharaj. Because those personalities are beyond Uttam, Bhagavat. So they're not subject or bound to the rules of this material world. So sometimes externally it appears that they are doing some things that we don't exactly understand. But generally there's one rule. There's one rule. And that is, if they are engaged in mundane, lustful affairs with others. This is one rule that across the board, it seems that all of our acharyas have said, that's the cutoff point. Maybe they're laughing, maybe they seem a bit outrageous, avadhut. But that we do not find that they are doing. Because they don't have any taste for that. They have taste for Krishna Seva. So in this case, it is important to also understand who is a pure devotee by the guidance of another high-class Vaishnava. Maybe a high-level Madhyam Adhikari can point us to someone that they consider superior to themselves. But then still, we must be careful. We must be careful. For example, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada had made comments to his disciples that one of his primary associates was like non-different from himself. And that same person, who everyone was looking up to, as being so great and wonderful, was responsible for destroying practically the institution of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. He left his Gurudev, he went to another society, started pulling the disciples of Saraswati Thakur away and saying that he's not qualified, he's not in line, you need to take initiation over here. So this is considered one of the gravest kind of offenses. Not only was he himself rejecting his Gurudev, but he was causing other disciples to also reject and neglect Gurudev. So there's Gurur Avagya. One is disobeying the orders of the spiritual master, and then one is, what does Gurudev call it? Gurur Druha, Akritagya, ungrateful and against Gurudev. In that case, it is considered one of the worst kind of aparads. So at one point, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said, this person is so qualified, he's non-different from myself. And all of our Guru Varga, all of them, I mean, if you look at the other disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada that we have taken shelter of, I'm talking about Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Prabhu Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shira Maharaj. All of these great personalities, they were like, my God, what happened here? You can read our Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's Viraha Ashtakam, in separation from his Gurudev, and get an understanding, an idea of the kind of distress, you can say, that happened at that time. So just because someone says, I have faith that they won't fall down, this is not a license for that person. Let's say you have a tendency toward becoming intoxicated, and then your Gurudev says, I have faith that you won't fall down. At that point, we have a duty to try to uphold the faith of Gurudev. It doesn't mean, oh, Gurudev said he has faith, I won't fall down, so let me go hang out in a bar because I have a tendency toward addiction to alcohol. What will be the result? Gurudev said I won't fall down, so let me go hang out in that situation. It doesn't usually work like that. When Gurudev gives that kind of statement, that's an impetus for the disciple to hold on more strongly, to follow more strongly, and to not make Gurudev look wrong. Not that we should try to, tempt fate. Well, Gurudev said it, so let me tempt fate and make that possibility that he will look wrong. So, there's so many variables in these situations, but in general, and it's important because Vaishnavas generally are known as Shastra Chakshushaha. We see through the eyes of Shastra. There are always exceptions to the rule, but we should try to go according to the rule. The exceptions may be there. If we don't understand, or if it doesn't make sense, and we're not to that level where we can reconcile it on our own, then we should try to reconcile it through any senior Vaishnava. If we are satisfied by that, then okay. If we cannot be satisfied, for example, we know our Gurudev's position on Ritvik initiating. What is Ritvik? Real Ritvik is when Gurudev is present, he tells someone on his behalf. Ritvik means that you're doing a yajna on behalf of someone else. Right? This is the meaning of Ritvik, which is mentioned in Shastra. But it's come to be a term which means after the departure of anyone's guru, any one of his disciples or grand disciples, or anyone for that matter, can initiate anyone else and say, you are the disciple of Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. You are the disciple of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is the meaning now, the current definition of Ritvik. So we know what our Gurudev's position is on this. If you do not know, I beg you to read very deeply and try to understand what his position was on it. He was very, very, very heavily against it. He even used very choice words. They are like animals. Stay very far away from them. Why? Because they have disregarded all Shastra. They don't have faith in real Guru Tattva, that Guru can manifest by our sincerity and our prayers. Instead, they're taking the path of Ekalavya. Guru's not personally accepting them, but they're saying he's my guru, right? So, Gurudev is very, very powerful and strong against doing this. He did not like it one bit whatsoever. One time I had a conversation, a personal, private conversation with Srila Gurudev in his room in Fiji, in the Fiji Islands. So my father had published a lecture of Gurudev's where he was combating this practice of initiating people on behalf of a guru who has disappeared from this world, and they continue initiating on behalf of him. So Gurudev first asked, this is for or against? I said, this is your lecture, Gurudev. It's against that conception. He's like, very good. And then I said to Gurudev, I don't understand, Gurudev. I mean, if someone can initiate you on behalf of Prabhupada, well, what if you want to be his godbrother? Maybe I want to be a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. And Gurudev said, no, I want to be a disciple of Rupa Goswami. And then I said, I want to be Brahma's godbrother. I want to be a disciple of Krishna. And then Gurudev said, I want to be the disciple of Srimati Radhika, no one else. So we were having this cute conversation back and forth. And then he was like, I like this. He actually expressed that he liked this logic, this idea. Yeah, then you can just accept anyone in any part of the parampara. Now I can become senior to my Gurudev because anyone is qualified to initiate me on behalf of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. So now I can become senior to my Gurudev. Right? Does that make sense? So Gurudev was very against this. Subsequent to his physical departure from this world, subsequent means yes, after. Certain persons who are representatives or should be representatives of Gurudev were engaging people in initiating others on behalf of Gurudev. I remember one sannyasi came to me and said, oh my God, I was just instructed to give Harinam to all these people, but I'm not qualified to give initiation. And then I was told, don't worry, they will be Gurudev's disciples. I was like, what are you doing? And then I met another one who said the same thing, and I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? This is against Gurudev's teachings. This is against Gurudev. So then we start having some questioning. What's going on? These are deviations, very strong deviations from the teachings of my Gurudev, from the teachings of Shastra, from the teachings of our parampara. So how do we reconcile such a thing? I can't reconcile this. Everyone's saying, this is such a great Vaishnava. I can't reconcile, so I do pranam and keep a distance because I can't accept it. I know what my Gurudev's position on this was, so I won't accept it. 1,000 people can say this is a transcendental personality and a pure devotee, but my heart is telling me my Gurudev was so against this that I cannot accept this idea. So sometimes we see variations, these kinds of things. If our heart cannot accept it, and if we feel deeply within our heart, I'll tell you where I stand myself, and this is something, a meditation that I always place. I see my Gurudev sitting next to me. We can see him inside, but I like to place him here because I had a personal, human-like relationship with him. In front of my Gurudev, would I be speaking what I'm speaking now? Ask that question. Absolutely. Do I feel strongly within my heart that he would be pleased by me speaking this subject? Yes, absolutely. If he would be displeased or become upset or angry by me doing something or speaking something, if he was sitting right next to me, then I should not do that. Does that make sense? If we want to receive the mercy of Gurudev, if we want to receive his blessings, then we should engage in those activities and speak those words which will be pleasing to him. What is his position on the Swarup of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada? Then we speak what will be pleasing to him. If we speak opposite to that, that means we have pushed him far away and we think he cannot hear us, because I know exactly how he would be. What about the swarup of the jiva? Inherent swarup of the jiva. Nowadays, so many different changes have been implemented. And the idea comes, oh, what Gurudev really meant to say was this. Well, I sat in front of him 1,000 times. He said the same thing the same way and really impressed it in me. And he said, with quotes from his Gurudev and his Guru Varga. And he was reading from Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and proving the point again and again and again and again. So, how can I shift from that? It's too ingrained within me. So then we have people going, but he's a pure devotee, but he's a pure devotee, but he's a pure devotee. What should the mood of a disciple be? Gurudev always said, Guru Nishta is the backbone of bhakti. Even if any other Mahabhagavat speaks something slightly different from your Gurudev, Gurudev spoke these words. Even if any other Mahabhagavat speaks something even slightly different from your Gurudev, he said, you should reconcile it immediately, or else it will go in like a seed of doubt. Very quickly, it will become like a big tree and it will destroy everything. So when we read from other sources, if we have faith in our Gurudev, we should see how those sources are supporting. We shouldn't be searching for ways to lose faith in the teachings of our Gurudev. We should be searching for ways to increase our conviction in the teachings, in the words, in the conceptions, in the observances, in the moods of our Gurudev. And to that extent, we take association. Otherwise, that cannot be considered shiksha. Srila Param Gurudev Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj explained what is the duty or role of shiksha guru. It is to increase our faith in our diksha guru. And if they fail to do so, his choice words are, then they're not even Vaisnava. Not even Vaisnava. If they're actually breaking our faith in our Gurudev and trying to take our faith for themselves, changing all of his teachings, his conceptions, his moods, everything that he tried to give us. How many changes can you tolerate before it's no longer Gurudev? And every different aspect that he spent so much energy, gallons and gallons and gallons of spiritual blood trying to impress within us. So, in this case, just because someone might be expert at preaching, just because someone might be expert in inspiring others, just because someone might appear to be chanting so much. These days people chant 5, 6, 7, 10 lakhs of Harinam. I don't know how, but they do. They have a lot of Shakti and a lot of power. And they say that it is not important to worry about the quality of the Harinam, it's about the quantity. I don't know how someone can chant that much but not be concerned for quality. So some people are chanting a lot, some people are doing all sorts of strange activities. So there's two aspects here. One, if that person cannot fulfill the requirement of our heart, that they are 100% dedicated to Krishna, that they are completely free from any material attraction or entanglement, for whom the material world holds no charm whatsoever. If they don't inspire within our heart this mood to serve Krishna, or if they are not following the teachings of their own Gurudev, and not encouraging us to follow the teachings of our own Gurudev as it is, then we are stuck in a very simple situation. It's not favorable for my development of bhakti because Guru Nishta is the backbone of my bhakti. In that case, pranam, back away. It's not favorable. Will I make Vaishnava aparad? It depends on what my intention is. Srila Gurudev said, should you serve the Vaishnavas in order to please Gurudev? Or should you serve Gurudev in order to please the Vaishnavas? And all of us were sitting there quite confused by his question. This was in Birmingham around the time of Rath Yatra. those who were there at the Gurudwara. We were there at the Sikh temple and he was giving classes. Then he asked the question another way. What is more important? Is it more important to try to please the Vaishnavas so that Gurudev is served? Or should we try to please Gurudev in that way? Should we try to please Gurudev and in that way serve the Vaishnavas? Serve the Vaishnavas in order to please Gurudev. And then Gurudev explained, you can never please everyone. It is impossible. If you try, you will fail. Guaranteed. Your mood should be how to please Gurudev. And even if others are not pleased by that, gradually they will become pleased. And then he gave the proof of this in Shastra. Yata taror mula nishechanena tripyanti tatskanda bujopashaka pranopaharach chaitandriyanam tataiva sarvahanam achyutejya. If you water the root of the tree, means if you try to please Krishna. The first form of Krishna in our life is Guru Krishna. This is the essence of Krishna's mercy descending into our life in the form of Guru. Srila Govinda Goswami Maharaj said, everything that Krishna wants to tell you, he is telling through the mouth of Sri Gurudev. Guru Mukha Padmavakya Chitte Te Koriya Aikyo. One of the last things that Srila Bhakti Kamal Govinda Maharaj told me. He said, even if I say anything different from your Gurudev, don't listen to me, follow your Gurudev. And I was like, nice. What a nice mood. He's acting properly in the role of shiksha for me. And then the other thing he said, we are not followers of this conception, this book, that thing. He said it's not book, mukha, padmava. He said guru mukha, the words emanating from the lotus mouth of Gurudev. This is what I should follow. This is what I should allow to purify my consciousness, my heart. Na kori homane asha. I have no desire or no intention, no attraction for hearing anything else, except what is supporting and endorsing my conviction in taking shelter of the lotus feet of my Gurudev. Because the first principle of bhakti is Ado Guru Padashaya. First and foremost, surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Guru. So when we are placed in a situation where we see that somebody has so many of these qualities, just because they have so many of these qualities, it does not mean that they're on that level. And Srila Gurudev gave the warning in 1996 when we were in Govardhan. He had the district officer of Govardhan, who was in charge of the whole area, stand up and speak. And the person stood up and spoke. At that time, it was just a bunch of mosquito nets in a big hall. And then when Gurudev would come to speak, everyone would move their mosquito nets to the side, roll everything up, and just sit with their bags. It was very private and quite intimate. Gurudev would sit on the stage, and we would all be there with our stuff either against the wall or just rolled up next to us. So at that time, it was the evening program. Everything was against the wall. And Srila Gurudev was speaking for quite some time. Then he had the DO, district officer, stand up and speak something. And he spoke something nice, and then he ended with all kinds of Mayavad conceptions. And then Gurudev, because Gurudev is senior to him in age, and also as a very prominent, respected sadhu of this entire area, they gave him the title Yuga Acharya, which he kind of laughed at when they gave to him. He said, Rupa Goswami is the Yuga Acharya. But on his behalf, and on behalf of all of our other Acharyas, I will accept this title or whatever, on behalf of all of them. So they gave him this title, Yuga Acharya. So anyhow, this person was speaking some Mayavad conceptions, and right afterwards, Srila Gurudev said to him, in front of all of us, how can you be the district officer of Govardhan and speak these conceptions? How is it possible that someone who is representing the Brajabasis in Govardhan has these moods which are opposed to bhakti? He said, in the future you should never speak like this. And that person had his hands on his ears like this, and he went like almost squatting, and he was off, like literally bowing down in front of Gurudev with his hands on his ears. And Gurudev said, like, you should bow, you will never speak like this again. It's quite intense to witness that. Of course, Gurudev, we all know, is fearless. Then afterward, The district officer left, and then Gurudev warned us. He said, you should be very careful. He said, for every shlok you know, there are some persons that can quote 100 shlokas. And for every one of those shloks, they can quote another 100 shloks, and they can run circles around you with tattva and siddhant from Shastra. And they can speak in such a way that thousands of people in their audience will be weeping, and they themselves will be weeping. They will speak Krishna Katha in such a way that thousands will be weeping and feeling so much. He said, and in the end they will say, it is all one. We are all Narayan. And everything is one. In the end they will say this. He said, so be very careful. Don't be fooled by all of these external things. Just because someone can make an appearance of chanting a lot, or just because someone can make an appearance of having big tilak, and big kanti mala, and 10 kilo japa mala, and wearing maybe dirty whitish cloth, or dirty saffronish cloth, or whatever. Just because someone wears a top like this versus a top like this. So many of these external things, and even their practice. But we should understand, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur warns very strongly to be careful. He said there are agents of Kali called Kali Chela, who will penetrate into Gaudiya Vaishnava society. They will be so expert and appear so perfect in their practice and their behavior that even great or advanced persons will not be able to detect their duplicitous nature. But they will only be looking. I think there's an example given. Like appearing like a yogi, what is it? The stork. He stands in the water on one leg, or the flamingo, and he stands there on one leg looking like he's doing yoga. He's completely peaceful. He looks completely self-controlled, but what's in his mind? He's only looking. Where's the fish? Where's the fish? And the moment something comes close enough, he takes that. So these personalities appear like that. Bhaktivedanta Thakur warns. But they're searching for wealth. They're searching for pratishtha. And they're only searching how to enjoy the young daughters of their all too willing disciples. This Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur warns. They're so expert. So we have a lot of tools that we've been given by our Guru Varga. And all of these flags might go up. Like our Srila Prabhupada, what did he say? Our Goswamis have never said, I have seen, I have seen, I have seen. They don't talk like this. What do they say? They weep and cry, and they're always searching, where are you? Oh Krishna, where are you? Crying like this, He Radhe, Brajadevike Chalalite, He Nandashuno Kuta, Shri Govardhana Kalpapada Patale Kalindi Vanye Kuta, Goshantavati Sarvato, Vrajapure Ke Dharmaha Vifalo, Bande Rupa Sanatano, Ragujugo, Shri Jivako Palako. They haven't said, I have seen, I have seen. They're not making it a cheap thing. They're taking that mood, weeping in Sarak Bhav. Where are you? Going from tree to tree, place to place, crying and praying. May you manifest in my heart the divine pastimes of Krishna that you have witnessed. So this is something of a warning for us. We should also see. Because we don't have the capability of just seeing on our own, then we can take shelter of senior Vaishnavas. But they may also make mistakes. So there's a few things which come to mind. We can't only depend on them. Sometimes they can be wrong also, just because they're senior. Especially if they say, I'm infinitely senior to you. I'm more senior to you, Prabhu. You should give me the fire first. Give me the ghee lamp first. This is a sign of ego. This is not a sign of seniority. Seniority means there will also be humility and a desire to help, to assist. So there's so many different conceptions to take into consideration. So many different variables. But in general, this is what Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj said. For example, if anyone composes any scripture It's not that just their neophyte disciples say, oh, this is the scripture composed by a Mahabhagavat Vaisnava, so therefore let's all read it. Because the word of 1,000 neophyte disciples does not equal to the word of one Mahabhagavat Vaisnava. It just doesn't work like that. But when many, this is Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj explaining, when many Mahabhagavat Vaishnavas all confirm and agree unanimously that this is a divine and transcendental scripture, then it is accepted as divine revelation. And what is the nature and quality of these personalities? Generally, among the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we also see especially Mahaprabhu's own character, how he behaved, how strong and strict he was. Once, upon hearing Gita Govinda, he began running in the direction of that Gita Govinda, completely captivated because it was being called out with love and affection for Krishna and the Krishna within him, or maybe the Radhika Bhav outside. In either case, wanted to hear this beautiful glories of Krishna, Gita Govinda. So he started running in that direction with intent to embrace the source without realizing that he was as a sannyasi. So his servant Govinda was running after him and grabbed him and tackled him. Mahaprabhu woke up from his trance state. What happened? Govinda said to him, you were running to embrace that person, but you are a sannyasi and who is singing is a lady. And we know what the prayaschita, the atonement is for a sannyasi who is embracing ladies and being so close. Like these days it's quite common for people to do stuff like that, but Mahaprabhu doesn't accept it. Mahaprabhu doesn't accept it, and neither do any of our pure Guru Varga accept it. It's not appropriate. So Mahaprabhu is saying, thank you, you've saved my life. I would have had to give up my life. So Mahaprabhu is showing by his own stricture that we should be, or anyone that we hope to follow should be like a white cloth, completely pure, with no black spot. Means that black spot, he said, anyone who just sees that, they won't see the rest of it, they'll just see the fault. So Vaishnavas should try to be in a way that they are faultless. Of course we see that people would criticize our Srila Prabhupada, people would criticize our Gurudev, people would criticize Srila Gurudev Maharaj and Srila Sridhar Maharaj and so many. But those criticisms are not valid if they can easily be debunked. But if someone has real, deep-seated reasons for being criticized, like they're engaging in lustful activities with, their followers, then this is something that should be a warning sign for us. This is not favorable for my bhakti to associate here. Apparently, they're not controlling their basic urges. The basic urges. I've just lost my connection here. Excuse me. I want to see because it might be that someone has written another question in relation to what I'm speaking. No? Okay. Okay. Sudevi. So, there we are. They're not able to control their basic urges. If they're not able to control the basic urges, then how can we accept them as our spiritual master or our spiritual guide? It will create havoc in our lives unless we set the bar so low. Unless we set the bar so low that they can do whatever they want and it doesn't matter. But then that would mean that all the rest of what is told in Shastra is useless. Why did Shastra tell us? Why did all of our Guru Varga warn us? Why did they tell us what kind of qualification there should be for a spiritual master? So if someone is doing so many things which appear to be bhakti and also doing so many other activities which appear to be nonsense, Srila Gurudev Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj explained that if someone gives equal status to the third class bogus person as they do to the real Mahabhagavat, then they are making aparad to the real Mahabhagavat. Does that make sense? If someone is doing all nonsense activities and you place them on the same platform as Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, and our Guru Varga, that they're doing all nonsense activities, then you're making aparad to our Guru Varga. Srila Rupa Goswami states in Sri Upadeshamrita, verse 5, Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshashti chet pranatibhishya bhujantamisham Shushrushaya vajana vidyamananyamanya nindadi shuddham hridamipsita sangatabhya. He's talking about honoring Vaishnavas according to their levels. It's not that we give everyone the same honor. For the Kanishta Vaishnava, Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta. If they even once chant the name of Krishna, then within our minds we give respect. Manasadriyeta. We give respect. Dikshashti chet. If they have received diksha, if they're actually entering into the process of bhakti and endeavoring to follow and serve Sri Gurudev, following the sadhana of bhakti to attain a particular goal of bhav bhakti, then pranatibhish bhajantamisham, because they're doing bhajan, then we offer our pranam to them. Shushrushaya bhajana vidyam ananyamanya nindadi shunyam. And those persons who have completely surrendered their life, their soul, their everything at the lotus feet of Guru, Gauranga, Radha and Krishna. Shushrushaya. They're always absorbed in bhajan. They're completely connected. And they are one-pointed to Krishna. That means they don't have any attraction to anything else. And one symptom of that, important symptom, ninda adi shunya. Ninda adi. They are devoid of the tendency to criticize others, etc. Means they're devoid of jealousy. They're devoid of envy. They're devoid of the tendency to criticize others. And this doesn't mean, see, this is where it gets a little tricky. I'll just continue my point and then we'll discuss that in a bit. If they're devoid of the tendency to criticize others and they're completely surrendered, then one should take shelter of them. One should hold on to their feet and surrender them their very lives at their lotus feet. That is the nature of Uttam Bhakta. Uttam means they're beyond the dualities. However, it is said in Shastra that because they don't discriminate, they don't see any variation, they cannot properly help us. So they step into the role of the Madhyam Bhagavat, whose function it is to discriminate for our benefit. Prema Maitri Kripopeksha Yakaroti Samadhyama. What is the nature or qualification of a Madhyam Adhikari? They have praying for the Lord, love for Krishna, and also for their Gurudev. They have so much affection and attachment to the lotus feet of Gurudev. Maitri means they have friendship with like-minded, sajati ashai snigdha sangha, with those who are on the same path, who have their minds and hearts focused on that similar goal. They maintain that association. This is called maitri, friendship with those who help them to focus on that goal. Kripa. Kripa means they give mercy to those who are less fortunate. Means the kanishtas, anyone who needs help. This means they have to be able to discriminate. What is the level of a pure Vaishnava? Who is on a level similar to mine and who needs help. This is generally the role of a preacher. So there it is said, Prema Maitri Kripa. So you give mercy to those jivas who are seeking help. And then the last one mentioned is Upeksha. Those who are envious, those who are antagonistic to bhakti, to Krishna, to Guru, to Vaishnavas, those who are making problems and don't want to actually move on the path of bhakti, then upeksha, there's neglect. That one keeps a distance from them. And that's for also their own benefit. that they shouldn't have to waste their time with those who are against the path of bhakti, against Krishna now. So now we come to the point where, wait a second, I've seen so many pure Vaishnavas and it appears that they are criticizing or that they become angry. Right? Vacho Vegam, it appears that they're criticizing others. Manasa Vegam, maybe they've become disturbed by something. Krodha Vegam, we've seen they've become angry this time or another time. Generally, you don't see that they are controlled by their urges of jihva, udara, anupasta. Means the urges of the tongue to taste everything, the urges of the belly to want to eat everything, and the urges of sexual urges. They're not, this part, you don't see that. If you see that, that's like a, no. Stay away. But, this Vacho and Manasa and Krodha Vegam. I remember we were sitting in front of our Gurudev in the Fiji Islands, and there was only like 5 or 6 of us, and he was speaking on this verse, Vacho Vegam. Because this is the qualification for one this verse tells the qualification of one who is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jitva Vegam, Udarapasta Vegam, Etan Vegan Yogisha Dhira, Sarvam Abhimam Prithivim Sasishyat. So Vacho is the first one mentioned. Vacho means to control the urge of speech. So how does one control the urge of speech? Only if they use that speech in the service of Krishna. So we should see if their speech, which appears to be criticizing others, is somehow actually favorable in the service of Krishna. This is a little difficult sometimes, but we can see. If someone is trying to stop someone else from serving, for example, and they make a strong statement that you're trying to stop my seva, this is against affection, it appears to be criticizing, but actually it is, because the focus is Krishna, then it is not in the same category of criticizing. The first offense to the holy name is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives to the propagation of the holy name of the Lord. That in Sanskrit it is called sadhu ninda, which takes many forms. Sadhu ninda. So to blaspheme these devotees who have dedicated their lives. So sometimes you see that there's a criticism. For example, it is said that our Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he said so many things about some of his godbrothers. Not all of his godbrothers, some of them. When Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj heard that Srila Prabhupada said they're just, staying in their mutts and just ringing the bell. Just ringing bells. He understood what he meant. He was saying, come on, let's do this. Why are you just staying inside? So it appeared like a criticism, but actually it was a veiled encouragement. It was a veiled encouragement. Don't just stay there. Look, we've opened up the world. Let's work together. And that was one of the last orders he gave. I believe he said something like this: the war is over. Now we should all work conjointly. And those who have maintained that war, after Prabhupada said the war is over, that we should work together, those who have maintained the war are now disobeying the orders of their spiritual master. Does that make sense? We should work together. So he opened the door. He made arrangements. He would also feed different mutts funds so that they can continue their preaching work. So Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj was so delighted. He said, if I get even this much, the position of ringing the bell in his kirtan, I feel so fortunate. What a beautiful reconciliation. He was saying, what a great service position it is if I get this position of ringing the bell in his kirtan. Because he's doing such a big, massive, important kirtan. If that much I receive, then I'm so fortunate. So, we should also understand that between higher personalities, they understand each other's moods. Our Srila Prabhupada lived personally with Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj for 7 years. let me just switch it around the other way. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Srila Maharaj, as a sannyasi, lived personally with Srila Prabhupada when Prabhupada was a grihasta, Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, for 7 years. They know each other intimately. They would have so many beautiful and deep discussions. One time they were having a discussion in Mayapur, I believe. That's where Srila Bhakti Rakshak Srila Maharaj stayed for the remainder of his days physically present within this world. And he was having a conversation with Srila Prabhupada, and the devotees asked afterward, "What were you discussing?" Prabhupada said, "It was so high, if I were to tell you, you would faint." And he was actually asking, "You should come and live with me. We can build an elevator for you so that easily you can come. I need my sajatiya, my friendly association, who I can discuss with." He had this kind of relationship with Srila Bhakti Srila Maharaj. We don't hear much about that, but yet he did. And he even said, "I see him as my Shiksha Guru," so what to speak of the benefit that others can get by his association. So we see in also the history of Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya, when they had apparent conflict, their level is way beyond the adhikar of the children. When a father and uncle are having a discussion, if the child starts screaming and getting involved, it's not his place. In that case, he should be quiet. When the father and uncle, they've had a relationship. This is brother and brother. The kid's looking, "That's my dad." These two brothers are having some dispute, but it's not the child's place to get involved. In the same way, in the conversation with Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya, many times they had these conversations where they apparently were abusing each other with their words. Apparently. And certain persons, like little children, would take sides, not understanding that Nityananda Prabhu is Baladev and Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu. Baladev's manifestation is Mahavishnu. So in a sense it would be like looking at yourself in the mirror and having a conversation and mocking yourself. They did not understand this essential reality, and therefore they were taking sides. So Vrindavan Das Thakur, he says, anyone who takes sides when great personalities, transcendental personalities, are having an apparent conflict, I kick them in their heads. Of course, Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj explained that this is the great mercy of Vrindavan Das, that they're taking sides, but Vrindavan Das is going to kick them in the head, give them his foot dust from his lotus feet, and awaken them to the real conceptions, the true conceptions of bhakti and how to honor these personalities properly. So this is the mercy of Vrindavan Das. Yet still, it is quite dangerous for us to play the role of judging those persons who are beyond us. I believe it was somebody, Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada said some pretty harsh things about, because he felt they were responsible for helping to break up the Gaudiya Math, his Gurudev's society, his Gurudev's institution. So he had said many harsh statements about that person. When that person left this world, the devotees came to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, where did he go? My father used to tell me this, everyone thought, he went to hell. Where did he go? He said, my Guru Maharaj did not have fools for disciples. He went back to Krishna. What an eye-opener. So they're having this conversation, and even Prabhupada said, I can say, but you cannot. So there's so many different levels there, and we need to take advantage of the lessons which have been given in our scriptures. Not just to go for the easy ride, but to really try to go deep on our own and understand. All of our Guru Varga are making commentaries, giving so much, so that we can have an understanding. There's Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. There's a Bhagavad Gita of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhagavad Gita of Vishwanath Chakravarti. They're all as it is. Any pure devotee who's connected to Krishna, who's revealing that truth, who is Tattvadarshi, when they are revealing any Shastra, it is as it is. If you see Prabhupada's reasoning for calling his version of Bhagavad Gita as it is, it's exactly defined like that. Only one who has love for Krishna can know Krishna as he is. Therefore, they can understand him as he is. Therefore, they can present him as he is. Therefore, I'm calling it Bhagavad Gita as it is. So any true Tattvadarshi, when they present any Tattva, any Siddhanta, any Shastra, then it is as it is. In fact, that term, Prabhupada dedicated his Bhagavad Gita to Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, who presented the Govinda Bhashya commentaries so nicely. You know the history? Baladev Vidyabhushan was sent by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to go and defend the integrity of the Gaudiya Vaisnava, the Brahmamadva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So what did he do? He went to Jaipur because that time they were trying to stop the worship of Radharani with Govinda. You know, Rupa Goswami discovered Govindaji and was worshipping Radha Govinda together. Rupa Goswami Pranadana He Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. So at that time, Baladev Vidyabhushan went to establish that Radha and Krishna should be worshipped together. And they were saying, yes, but they're not married. So how can we worship them together? This just sets a precedent for all kinds of, lewd behavior in the world. Krishna comes to establish dharma. Some people were making these points. So Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu was giving Srimad Bhagavatam. They said, you need a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So what did he do? He said, Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Here it is said, Artoyam Brahma Sutranam. It's already here. This is the natural commentary on all Vedanta Sutra. And they said, no, you need your own commentary from your own Sampradaya. We won't accept that as your commentary. What could he do? He didn't even have enough time. I think it was 2 or 3 days. What could he do? So he prayed fervently to Govindaji, please help me to defend the honor and integrity of the Brahmamadva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Please help me. So Govinda Dev himself dictated, and Baladev Vidyabhushan wrote. And that is known as Govinda Bhashya. One time, one person was asking Prabhupada how he's able to write all of these commentaries, how he's able to write all of these purports and everything. And Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna directly is telling me and I'm writing. He's dictating, he said. Krishna is dictating and I'm writing. And then one of Prabhupada's disciples said, he means that Krishna is inspiring him. And Prabhupada said to that disciple, what nonsense you are telling. Directly, Krishna is telling me and I'm writing. So this is non-different. Govinda Bhashya. Krishna is speaking. This is the meaning of transparent via medium. They have nothing of themselves. They're completely empty of any selfishness where they allow, in essence, Krishna to transparently flow through. This is the meaning of Sri Guru. They're the transparent medium by which Krishna connects to us and we connect to Krishna. They have nothing to take of their own. They're just the vessel, the vehicle by which Krishna's mercy is flowing to us. And they are also the vehicle by which our prayers, our hopes, our aspirations, our love and affection flows to Krishna. So he said, Baladev Vidyabhushan, I'm dedicating my Bhagavad Gita to Baladev Vidyabhushan, who presented the Govinda Bhashya commentary so nicely. And he named it Bhagavad Gita as it is. But Baladev Vidyabhushan's commentary is also as it is, because it is spoken by the Lord himself. So the point I'm making is that so many different variables might be there. For us, maybe if we're not on that level, we need to take shelter or take help by those who have been practicing much longer than ourselves. And that will help us to have a more balanced vision, because on our own, what strength do we have? What knowledge do we have? On my own, I'm like a baby. Right? I'm prone to the 4 defects. Brahm, pramada, karana, patava, vipralipsa. I think I'm going to say this so many times that we will all have a clear idea of this. Brahm means illusion. Pramada means to make mistakes. Karana, patava means imperfect senses. And vipralipsa means the tendency to cheat others. So I have these defects running through my blood, running through my brain. And I have the tendency to follow my defective nature. So then it is incumbent upon us to take shelter of someone who is beyond that defective nature. Or maybe someone who has had more association with Sri Guru. I think you might remember when it was Ramanujacharya's day. Because he came to his Gurudev Yamunacharya after Yamunacharya disappeared. But Ramanuja was so connected internally. He spoke certain things, understanding the inner heart of Yamunacharya. So here's an example of someone that it appears that they're not following the proper protocol for accepting Guru, because it's after Gurudev departs. But there, Yamunacharya had his hands like this, 3 fingers in, and Ramanujacharya said, I will take sannyas. Boom, 1 finger came out. I will preach conceptions of pure bhakti all over the world. Boom, another finger came out. I will write commentary on Vedanta Sutra, Sri Bhashya. The other finger came out. All of the other disciples saw this and realized this person has understood the inner heart's desire of our Gurudev. They all unanimously voted him. You will be the next Acharya. From Yamunacharya to Ramanujacharya. He didn't say, woo, now I'm the Guru of the world. No, for many, many months, maybe even years, he went to each and every one of those disciples who had spent so many years with Sri Yamunacharya. He served them. He learned from them all of the conceptions of his Gurudev. He stayed with them. He learned about the moods of his Gurudev, the teachings of his Gurudev, how they were representing. And so he stayed with some for 2 weeks, here a month, 2 months, 1 year. For so long he stayed with so many and learned from them. And then after quite some time, then he accepted that role of Acharya. But first, serving all of the Vaishnavas. And we see the same thing with Raghunath Das Goswami. Nityananda Prabhu placed his lotus feet upon the head of Raghunath Das Goswami. And then he gave him into the service of all of the Vaishnavas. That you should serve all of the Vaishnavas. So that beautiful festival, Chidhadahi Mahamahotsava, Panihati took place, where Raghunath Das Goswami arranged to serve and feed all of the Vaishnavas, to offer prasadam to all of the Vaishnavas. And by that, their hearts were so satisfied, they all blessed him, and then Nityananda Prabhu sent him forward to Mahaprabhu, who immediately placed him in the care of Swarup Damodar Goswami. Hence, he was known as Swaruper Raghu, the Raghunath of Swarup Damodar Goswami. So, the question which was asked was very deep and esoteric. I think I've just now gone past the time I didn't even realize, because it's such a deep subject. There's so many different variables, but for the general population, we shouldn't always try to search for the exception. We won't be able to understand the activities of avadut. And what will happen is we may very easily make offenses or aparad. In that case, if we're not able to reconcile these things, then it may be better for us to keep a distance or to be under the guidance of someone like Mukunda, who can help us to understand the nature and character. In Upanishadamrita there it says, Rupa Goswami has said, Drishtai svabhava janitaya vabhushashta doshaya na prakritatvamiha bhakta janasya pasya gangam shamna kalubudbudavena pankar brahma dravatvam apagachati niradharmai. Just as the Ganga is always transcendental and pure, despite all the mud, all the bubbles, all the foam, and even the dead bodies, Ganga is always transcendental and pure. And to think that she's not, this is like aparad. In the same way, one should overlook the seeming deficiencies in a pure devotee. Like Ashtavakra Rishi. Ashtavakra Rishi is a very divine personality. Janak Maharaj is one of the Mahajans, and he put Ashtavakra Rishi on his throne and listened to him with faith and regard. Shraddhanvito. He listened to him with faith and regard. When Ashtavakra Rishi arrived at the assembly of Janak Maharaj, because he is Ashtavakra, means he's crooked in 8 places. Basically, he was deformed. So everyone in the assembly laughed. And he said, I thought I was coming to an assembly of intelligent persons, but I realized that I'd come to an assembly of leather workers, shoemakers. And they were like, what? He said, you're looking at the external. You're not looking at the internal. And you're judging by the external. So I can understand that you don't have any intelligence. And then they were all like, Janak Maharaj immediately, because he was the king, so he's responsible for all of them. He got off that throne. He put Ashtavakra on the throne. And they all listened very carefully to Ashtavakra Gita, what Ashtavakra Muni is telling. So Rupa Goswami is saying that in the body, maybe the complexion, maybe the shape of the pure devotee, how they look, all of these things, maybe they don't look so nice. Maybe their complexion, or maybe they're missing teeth, or maybe they're crooked in some way, or maybe they're a little bit eccentric, like Kishori Das Babaji Maharaj, eating mud from the Ganga, or mud from Yamuna. It's an eccentric behavior. He said he went blind from that. So there's some eccentric behaviors that are very difficult to understand. Sometimes appearing angry. We don't understand what's going on. Externally appearing angry in certain ways. But still we should understand that they are pure. But once again I'm telling, and I will just finish this point, that if someone is consumed by sense gratification, especially trying to satisfy lustful desires or satisfying the lusty desires of others, if they are engaging people in activities which are opposed to bhakti, if they're engaging people in doing things which are not favorable for their bhakti, like directly, doing things which are like, you should do this bad activity, then there are generally, we can say this is not safe. It's not safe for me. Maybe when I progress to a very high level, I will be able to see and understand. But at this point, if I try to come too close to someone who is avadut, I won't understand the variations in their character, and I will become offensive. Gurudev came to Krodhavegam in Fiji, and he looked at us, and he said, don't be angry. I was like, whoa. He said, Hanuman and Arjuna, they could use their anger in the service of the Lord. They had to be angry. Hanuman burned Lanka in service to Ram. Arjuna had to become angry and fierce to fight thousands of warriors for the service of Krishna. But for us, he said, you won't be able to control it. If you become angry, then what will you do? He said, even if any Vaishnava or Sadhu or Guru comes by, he said, because you will be seeing in red, your vision will be tainted in anger, you will also curse them. So don't be angry. For us. But for those personalities, they may manifest anger, but we should see very carefully, is their anger selfish, or is their anger for the pleasure of the Lord? They might become angry at us as disciples. Why? Why would they become angry at us as disciples? In the same way that a parent will become angry at a child who's doing something very, very dangerous. Like my brother once did. I think he stuck something into an electric socket, some metal, catapulted himself across the room. What would you do if you see a kid doing that? You start screaming, no! Is that anger real anger, or is it love? That's the question. So we should try to understand also from these different perspectives. Everyone's saying this is a pure devotee. I'm seeing these aberrations in their character. How can I understand this? Maybe let me take shelter of another or another. Maybe they can help me to understand. If I'm not able to reconcile at this point in time, then Hare Krishna, let me concentrate on my development of bhakti. But if someone is fulfilling all of the characteristics, all of the requirements of Guru to enable me to progress, when someone talks about Guru Tattva, for me, when they give the shlokas of Guru Tattva, for Sudevi, for so many I know, when we hear the verses of Guru Tattva, it's like, yes, my Gurudev, yes. I remember speaking about Guru Tattva very strongly in certain locations, and the devotees would come up to me, don't you think you can like soften it a little bit to accommodate, these other gurus who might not be on that level? I was like, whoa, should I adjust Guru Tattva because somebody might lose faith in their guru when I speak Guru Tattva? So I asked Gurudev this question directly. What should I preach? And he said, you should preach Guru Tattva as I preach it. So there's so much more to discuss, so much more to go into. This is still very essential and part of this journey. This relationship with Guru, how to understand who is qualified, who is bona fide, who I can take shelter of, and who will guide me in my sadhana toward my ultimate intrinsic perfection. Who will guide this seed-like nature toward its ultimate goal. This is the function of Gurudev, not to take anything for himself, but to bring us to the service of the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. So thank you very much for asking your questions and for giving me the opportunity to remember all of these things. If I've said anything that is wrong, I believe in my heart, I feel strongly in my heart that I would say any of this directly in front of my Gurudev. But if I've said anything wrong, please forgive me. If I've said anything good, you should know that this is due to the mercy of Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas and our Shastras. And just thank you for giving me this daily opportunity to remember all these instructions of Gurudev and beautiful sweet pastimes of Gurudev. Because of you, I feel that my heart is becoming closer to the lotus feet of my Gurudev, so I'm indebted to all of you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Rama
Bihari Ji ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Srila Gurudeva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you very much, and we look forward to being with you tomorrow. If there aren't any pertinent questions like this, we will continue. Actually, tomorrow for us is Shri Narasingha Chaturdashi. Shri Narasimha Bhagavan ki jai, Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. So tomorrow we will sing for and discuss the glories of Shri Narasimha Bhagavan and Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj. Okay, so thank you so much for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you and being with you tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe.